After filming this video, I realized that I was wrong. The numbers were bigger than what I initially shared in the video. The total number that the US government is giving to automotive companies and South Korea is actually $28 billion worth of loans. Now, most people are unaware of the fact that the government says that General Motors isn't telling you the truth about when it was bailed out of bankruptcy in 2008. The truth is, the government claims that actually cost them $11.2 billion. In fact, the government said they wrote it off their books, $11.2 billion, back in 2014. Joe Biden is rushing through loans to 3 different vehicle companies in America and South Korea for nearly $27 billion. Biden knows there is a high likelihood that a very large percentage of this money will never be returned to the US government, but he doesn't really care because Donald Trump's going to have to be dealing with that. The pro-union Biden administration is rushing through a loan to Ford and South Korean company SK On for just under $10 billion right before Donald Trump takes power. Kind of curious the way this is happening, isn't it? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Ford and SK On want to build a mega battery factory. In fact, several mega battery factories in the United States, but they want to borrow $9.6 billion US from the federal government. Why do they need to borrow that money from the government? That's what I'm curious to know. Well, for one, this will be a sweetheart deal. It'll be, very likely 0% interest, meaning the government will be essentially giving Ford and SK On a part of this $9.6 billion. So if you think that other countries, such as China, are the only countries to subsidize their automotive industry, well, you'd be wrong. Ford and South Korean battery manufacturer SK On are getting an enormous $9.63 billion loan from the US Department of Energy to build 3 battery manufacturing plants in Tennessee and Kentucky for electric vehicles. In June 2023, it was revealed Ford and SK On would be getting a $9.2 billion loan to help with the construction of 3 factories. Well, they've increased that to $9.63 billion. Apparently $9.2 billion was not enough. So why is the loan amount increased? I'm not sure. No one seems to know. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you think about that in the comment section. This is the largest loan provided by the US government's Advanced Technology Vehicles Manufacturing Program, the biggest ever. They are, I believe, loaning Rivian $6 billion, which they're never going to get back, but anyhow. This program aims to help American firms catch up with industry-leading Chinese battery makers. Will it do that? Will it help them to catch up with CATL, or Gotion High-Tech, or Geely? Hell no. I mean, it'll help them to make better batteries. Will it help them to catch up? Absolutely not. That ship has well and truly sailed. The money will be provided to Blue Oval SK, a joint venture operated by the 2 companies. They've already invested, they say, over $11 billion in the construction of the 3 plants. So the government is chipping in the rest. Production at the first of the 2 plants in Kentucky is scheduled to start in early 2025, while the Tennessee site will be ready to start manufacturing in late 2025. When all 3 sites are up and running, they'll be capable of producing around 120 gigawatt hours of EV batteries every single year. That is a hell of a lot of batteries. Speaking with Reuters, Blue Oval SK said it took 18 months for the Department of Energy to complete the loan process due to the time needed to conduct due diligence, including market, credit, financial, legal, and regulatory reviews. This isn't the only significant EV loan, or the only massive EV loan, I should say, announced over the last few weeks, just before Donald Trump returns to the presidency. The Department of Energy announced a conditional commitment to loan $7.54 billion to FCA US and Samsung SDI. So basically to South Korea with their joint venture with Stellantis. Now, Stellantis is not actually an American car company, which is quite bizarre that this is happening. Stellantis has some of the brands are American, some of them are European, some of them are even now Chinese. So Stellantis and Samsung SDI are getting $7.5 billion. Ford and SK On are getting $9.6 billion. If you look at these numbers, South Korean companies technically are getting more money in loans than I think makes sense. I mean, they're getting more than 50% of this deal because FCA, as I mentioned before, is technically just a part of Stellantis. So anyhow, even if you break it down, you say they're not, it doesn't matter. 50% of that, it still means that essentially the US government is loaning about $16.5 billion to South Korea. Couldn't South Korea's government come up with that money? Anyway, whatever. In addition to that, Rivian also received approval for a loan of $6.6 billion. So basically the US government is loaning around $22 billion. Plus, by the way, it did a loan to General Motors. I believe that was around $5 billion. So that's around $27 billion now. Will all this money ever get paid back to the US government? What do you guys think? I think it's extremely unlikely. The entire global automotive industry is shrinking. It will shrink significantly. Most people live in cities. Most people don't need to own a car. They're not going to want to own a car because to get a robo-taxi within 5 years, it will be probably about 80% cheaper than a taxi today, maybe 90% cheaper. It will be a fraction of the price. The driver is the cost. You're paying for the driver. You won't be paying for a driver anymore, so you'll be able to get a robo-taxi and you'll be able to get all kinds of them, pickup trucks, station wagons, SUVs, buses, whatever it is. Very, 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 very cheap. So that might not appeal to you, but most people that live in cities, that will. They don't easily have places to park their cars. Parking in cities is a major pain in the ass. So the global car market will continue to shrink. And seeing as Ford, General Motors, and Rivian, to be honest, they're already just American car companies. They sell not that many cars outside of America. Sales outside of America are continuing to shrink and will continue to do so. It doesn't matter how much you want to kiss Mary Barra's butt and say that she's the person of the year inside EV's Bazaar. Person of the year, Mary Barra. It doesn't really matter if you think that. The truth is, look at General Motors. Look how they're going in China, right? 3 straight quarters of massive losses. That's not going to change. So GM, Ford, and Rivian will essentially become just American-only companies, owing the government $27 billion between them. And really, how will they have the capacity to pay all of that money back? Well, I'm curious. I'm curious to know how the government thinks that's going to play out. Maybe, though, Joe Biden has really won up to Donald Trump here. He just thought, hey, let's Trump. And maybe he has trumped Trump because once these loans have been approved, what can the US government do? Can Trump revoke them? I don't think he can. So Trump's probably absolutely stewing, sitting in his seat going, he's probably just getting really worked up about this. I'm sure he's very well aware of this stuff. Now, although the loan has come under scrutiny from Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, who they now will front the Department of Government Efficiency. They both scrutinized the Rivian loan because obviously Elon Musk thinks that there's a good chance Rivian will go bankrupt. And to be honest, so does anyone who's impartial. If you're a brand fan of Rivian, and I actually have to admit I'm a brand fan, but I still have to be impartial for the purpose of bringing you guys news, there is a very high likelihood Rivian will go bankrupt, extremely high. So, I mean, to be fair, Vivek and Elon probably aware of this. They've done the numbers. They know everything. I mean, Tesla know the global car market will shrink massively over the next 10 years, over the next 20 years. It's going to be a fraction of the size it is today. 80 million cars today. It might be 40 million at best by 2035. So that's the market you're selling vehicles in. In that market, General Motors and Ford and Rivian, they're going to return $27 billion apparently to the US government. Yeah, not like. Guys, what do you think about all this? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments.